African Americans were not the only people seeking change. American intellectuals, artists, and youths were also beginning to rebel against the consensus and conformity of the post-war world. For decades, Americans had believed that the return of prosperity would make the American dream a reality. But not everyone was happy. Rejecting artistic conventions, artists called abstract expressionists turned to their unconscious minds for inspiration. Novels like Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man gave white Americans a glimpse into the psychological costs of racial segregation. J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye told of the alienation of American kids from adult society. In the mid-1950s, Congress held hearings on yet another threat to the nation's future, juvenile delinquency, which expert witnesses insisted was caused by the evil influences of comic books, motion pictures, and other mass media. In the 1950s, teenagers found a new soundtrack for their lives in a music that emerged, like jazz before it, from the world of African Americans. They called it rock and roll. Other youthful rebels called beatniks criticized Americans' conformity and addiction to consumer goods. They wanted nothing to do with the organization man or middle-class suburbanites. The end of World War II had ushered in an era of unprecedented prosperity. Economic growth spurred by technological advances had transformed many Americans' lives. But affluence had not solved all of the nation's problems. Even as post-war families raised their children and pursued their American dreams, movements for reform and rebellion were already taking shape and gaining momentum. In the 1960s, the United States would enter a new era of conflict and reform, an era in which Americans would again struggle to achieve freedom and justice for all.